South American Dota fans, rejoice because the South American Dota Pro podcast is here. Episode number 1, Zyori and Bowie, SADPP. We're going to be carrying through the DPC season. We've got a lot of action coming up. The first series starts tomorrow. It is Sunday, and Monday midday, we're going to have our first lower bracket DPC opener for South America. I couldn't be more excited to be starting yet another Dota podcast. This one focused 100% on all the glories of SA Dota. So who better to join me here? We've got D2 Bowie. How are you, bud? How you feeling?
Dude, I'm feeling great. I am so excited about the leagues. I feel like it has so much potential to make Dota like actually like a profession for a lot of these players, especially in South America. So I'm really hyped, and I just really want to see how these lower division games are gonna go. I feel like there's so much raw talent there, and whoever moves up to the upper is gonna be really happy. I don't know, a lot of emotions.
Yeah, and I mean, for South America as well, you have to remember that this is all USD, right? All of the DPC is USD.
Yes.
So in SA, that 15K, that 20K in the lower division that is easy to scoff at depending on where you are in the world is actually a pretty substantial amount of money in South America. We're seeing some of these lower division teams like just now making social media profiles. We sent out this questionnaire that players have been responding to, so we're starting to get to know them just a little bit more kind of on that personal level, and excited to collect more of that data throughout the league because this is a little different. I'm used to being able to rely on Dota Buff and Liquipedia and have this catalog of data behind these players. And for basically half the teams in the DPC, we don't have that. We know a lot about the upper teams, or at least most of them. We don't know so much about most of these lower teams.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I mean, go on. Sorry.
No, please.
I feel like with the exception of maybe Blood for Blood that is now Mad Kings, a lot of these players have been playing like competitively for a while, but they're just not that known, especially because there's not that much international attention to like tier 3 SA Dota. So it's gonna be fun to actually get those players in the spotlight for a while.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've said this a couple times now, and it's like kind of tooting my own horn, but I was super surprised at the quality of the qualifiers, even the open qualifiers.
Yeah.
There's that little drama there. I don't need to dredge that up too far, but the 0900 versus the Tavo stack was like a pretty intense series. And being able to see those teams, at least in their early form, has created some interesting storylines. And you mentioned Blood for Blood. They were one of the teams that had a pretty easy bracket in the open qualifier, really a pretty good dice roll in terms of avoiding the other top teams. And now they've made it through. They've already, I don't know if Mad Kings is an org or if that's like a player run org that they've just put together now. But either way,
they are an org.
That's an existing org. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I mean, already, right? We've got a team that they were just a pub stack of unknown players that are now an official, like, professional Dota squad. That's pretty cool.
For sure. We'll see. I mean, if they can maintain their spot in the lowers, but there's definitely a lot of incentive for them to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Kings, they're uppers. They were the team that they had.
Wait,
they were the team that we're most hyped about. Because remember, they bombed out of the group stage, but then they made that run through the playoff bracket and the qualifiers. So now Mad Kings, they're like the dark horse squad that are in the uppers.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. I just brain farted here.
Oh wait, no, I'm an idiot. I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry. Mad Kings was Blood for Blood. I was thinking that Mad Kings was LATAM Defenders when I was saying that. I'm such an idiot.
No.
Okay, all right. Redact what I just said. I bullied you with confidence there, and I'm so sorry. Yes, can they maintain their spot in the lowers? Yes.
Yeah,
you were exactly right. They got that lucky bracket through the open, so it would be cool to see this team do well because that's a little bit of an underdog story, but you know, if they bombed out, I guess we wouldn't be terribly surprised. So, this podcast today, though, what we want to do is we don't want to overwhelm you with information. We're not going to go through every single team. We're not going to read the patch notes of the rosters. There's 16 teams here. You know some of them already. Today, we're going to focus on 2 teams in particular, the first 2 lower division teams that are matching up against each other. That's Hokori and Incubus, 2 teams that I didn't know too much about until we did this questionnaire and got to watch some of their games in the open qualifier. And then after that, we're going to give some kind of power rankings so that Bowie and I can get some predictions on record here. And then as the league continues, we'll come back and revisit those and kind of see where we're at. So what do you think, man? Dive on in. You want to talk about Hokori a little bit?
All right. I guess you can start with Incubus.
Okay.
You wanna?
All right, let's do Incubus. So this is the team. Yeah, this is your comfort zone. All right, Incubus.
Yeah.
One of the lower division teams. They are 4 Brazilians and 1 Argentinian. The Argentinian player being Benny. He plays the 1. We've got Mini on the 2, Jupiter on the 3, Ma on the 4, and Nuages on the 5. And I think Nuages is also the captain and drafter, if I remember from the lobbies.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the rub on these guys? 4 Brazilians and the Argentinian.
So Benny actually played with a lot of friends that I know. Benny is like known for being willing to play with Brazilians a lot. Like usually, we actually have a pretty big division between like Brazilian players not mixing with Peruvians, Argentinians, and all. I guess mainly because of language. But Benny, he played with a lot of friends of mine. And now he's playing with the old SG guys. So Ma, Mini, and Nuages, they played for SG, I guess 2 years ago. Then they kind of separated. SG was closed for a while. I'm not sure if, like, I guess I'm talking to a lot of people that don't know about SA, so I'm not sure if I'm skipping through a lot of things. But SG, they used to be a big org. The team, like the first Brazilian team that played a Valve event was actually SG in the past. They had Tavo, they had HFN.
Yeah, that was the original. That was 2017 TI qualifiers. HFN, ADR, Tavo, King RD, and Cat, or C4T, as it's written.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that team ended up leaving SG. They got these new guys. Eventually, SG stopped being an org for a while, and these players were away, and they formed Incubus. So pretty.
Gotcha.
Those guys, they are not new. They've been playing Dota for a while. And, it's really cool to see these mixing teams doing well because. Damn, dude, so many teams, kind of hard to say. But the team that has Arms is also a mixed team with 1 Brazilian and 4 Peruvians.
Yeah. And Avo Plus in chat, another man of the region, mentioned that Benny is actually Peruvian who has been living in Argentina. He does have an Argentinian flag on Wikipedia and all the official Dota stuff. So I guess perhaps a multicultural, and I would assume they speak Portuguese as a team. So does that mean that Benny is multilingual there, or he speaks Spanish and Portuguese? He must.
I'm pretty sure he speaks a little bit of because I already played pubs with him, and he like did joke around with Portuguese, but I'm not sure how fluent he is. I've seen him like actually speak Portuguese. He only speaks Spanish. All right. I've seen him like joke around with like Brazilian memes and stuff.
Interesting.
He plays Dota Portuguese. All right.
So he only speaks Spanish. That's man. If we get to interview any of those players, I want to ask about communication so bad. How they handle that. That's got to be tough, especially for your carry player too. Although in some ways it's you kind of
the best position.
Come to fights or don't come to fights. Benny farm, Benny fight. In some ways, that's all you need. If you trust in the B man. We got questionnaires back from every player on this squad except for Ma. So he's the one that I don't know as well. But one of the things that you mentioned, like a commonality across these South American players getting started in LAN cafes. And as I started sorting through these questionnaires we sent out, that was absolutely a recurring theme. How'd you get introduced to Dota? Oh, my big brother played it in a LAN cafe and I watched him. Or I saw a pro team play in a local LAN cafe. I thought it was really cool, so that made me want to play. But it seems that a lot of these players really have those deep Dota roots in the highly social LAN cafe environment in like just local events with local squads that we wouldn't really have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
The notorious Venom LAN house in the city of Curitiba back in 2011. That's where Jupiter got his start.
Yeah, that's south of Brazil.
Okay.
Pretty good city to live. Curitiba. First team, no ping. from Nuages. I was a pub player and got invited to play in a team. Started in Dota 1 playing with brother. There's a lot of stories like that too. Like older brother taught them how to play, and they just kept playing afterwards.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But kind of an interesting mix of personalities on this team as well. Mini is a guy that we talked about a little bit during the qualifiers, but one I think to keep an eye out on just throughout this whole DPC. I'm looking forward to seeing how his social media evolves throughout the games because he seems to have some hot takes. He's the one that's the big fan of Emilia Clarke, Daenerys Targaryen. He wrote in his questionnaire specifically that he admires her, and I'll read this verbatim. Her life story and the way she handles situations and people are an inspiration to me, and I'll be extremely bothered if people assume that I'm a fan of her only because of her good looks. So, this is an admiration of Emilia Clarke as an icon, as an actress, as someone who's pushing boundaries in cinema. So, exciting stuff. But you weren't kidding. I really thought you were messing with me when we were doing the
oh no,
the coverage. You were like, he's a big Daenerys fan. I'm like, what does that mean? Is that some meme I'm not into? And no, it's just very real. There's no joke there. I also liked what he wrote about Dota. What's your favorite thing about Dota? And he said, the complexity. Dota is like a chessboard, but instead of 16 pieces being controlled by one player, you have 5 pieces being controlled by 5 players. And the team coordination to use all these pieces in certain areas of the map where you're most effective in applying pressure are what make Dota so amazing. And I think that's a really great and simple way to, you don't have to understand the details of Dota to really digest the complexity in that analogy. Your 5 chess pieces all controlled by 5 different people. That's really a cool way to think about the game. I like that.
Yeah. I also I hope in the future when maybe we can actually talk to these players in the podcast or when after a game. I really wanted to get an idea of how the trip from Mini to Europe actually went, because I know he was there for, I want to say 6 months, maybe a year, just playing Dota. And I really wanted to hear his takes on playing in Europe, if he actually had if he was trying to make a team there, or if his goal was just to get better as a player.
Get access
yeah, you
to
don't
all that
see that many players actually. I guess it's kind of hard because it's probably super expensive to just travel by yourself. But that's a lot of dedication, right? Actually, traveling somewhere to get better pubs,
if
better
you have
knowledge.
somewhere to stay, I think it's realistic. If you have to figure out a lodging solution long term while you're there, that's where it gets really expensive, pretty fast. A month in a hotel is an egregious amount of money, right?
I guess a CA is probably the best place for you to do something like that, because overall it's much cheaper than Europe, and I think the quality of pubs is probably good enough.
Yeah, I see. One of the other things about Mini that I thought was kind of cool is his nickname, right? His name used to be Mini de Leon, and that's because and I might not be pronouncing that right. It's Daileon. He said his brother's nickname was Di Leon, and since he was a mini version of his brother, people started calling him that, and then eventually he kind of graduated to his own identity, and he just became Mini, always with the lowercase m, of course, because, Mini, small m, all makes sense. But again, this goes back to this recurring theme of it's not even just the social element of LAN cafes, it's also the family element. So many of these players have Dota and family intertwined. It's how my brother and I spent our summer vacations together. Damn, that's actually pretty sick that Dota goes a layer deeper for some of these players.
Yeah, that's true. I think the pronunciation is Daileon, but I'm not entirely sure because it seems kind of Asian in a way, so I'm not sure if they actually said it in the Brazilian way of saying it, or if it was something else, but probably Daileon.
A lot of Arteezy fans as well. Benny listed Arteezy as his greatest of all time. So, a carry player looking towards another carry player. Yeah, big fan of the Arteezy stream. Excited for this squad. And in the qualifiers, if I remember, they were kind of middle of the group, right? Closed qualifiers, they were 4th out of 8 in the group stage. And then when it came to the playoffs, they were knocked out by Incubus, knocked out Infinity, and then they got knocked out by the LATAM Defenders in that lower bracket in the battle to go uppers. So they were one series away from going uppers. So that this storyline, I'm sorry, Incubus was third in the group stage. So they were right on the cusp multiple times where if you're top 2 in the groups, you go on to uppers. So they were just one slot short right there. And then you make it into the groups and you go, or into the playoffs rather, you lose your first series against the LATAM Defenders. It's 2-1. It's pretty close. And then you face them again. You win that series. You go to uppers. You go 2-1 again against the LATAM Defenders. If these two teams ever end up in the same division, we do have a little bit of like a seedling of a rivalry here, because it is the LATAM Defenders that have just smacked down the Incubus Club Dreams here coming into the first season of DPC.
Yeah, that's true. It was really close. I remember when we were casting that game.
Yeah.
Surprisingly though, their average MMR is also pretty close. I did like stalk most of these players and got their MMR, and the average rank of LATAM Defenders is 170 and Incubus is 180. So
okay, very close.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah, the LATAM, I think they overall they played a little bit like better as a team than Incubus, but we'll see. I think they do have a lot of potential, and I guess like as an org, they're doing really well.
I would overall rate Incubus, I think, pretty high in the lower division.
Yes, I would also.
I would expect them to be contenders for top 2. If they don't make at least like top 3, top 4, I think that would be a disappointment based on how they performed in the groups.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they could have been in the upper, if it went just slightly better for them in that game.
Yeah. Okay, anything else before we move on here to Hokori? Any other thoughts on Incubus?
Yes, I think this is pretty much it.
Okay. So to Hokori then. This is a squad that I knew absolutely nothing about. We've got no Liquipedia pages here. By the way, I did contact a couple of the Liquipedia admins, and basically, if you make uppers, I think you get a page. If you're in lowers just one season, you don't get a page. If you're in lowers for 2 seasons, I think that's when they consider making a page and you have enough competitive history. And I think the idea is they don't want to make profiles for teams that qualify through opens and then just bomb out anyway and then never play in anything competitive again. They want to maintain some integrity of not clouding the website with like player profiles that have no information and that they played in 10 series in one season and that's it.
So it's not only about your team having a page. As a player, you need to play the entire league and then play again.
Yes,
even if you're lower.
I think so. And it's a little bit of an art, right? Because there are some players in lowers, like Ben Jazz is on Gorilla's Pride. He obviously has a history. So it's sort of team. It varies a little bit if you're a team of true 5 unknowns and you're an org that is also unknown and not really a proper org. It might take, you have to do more than just qualify. You got to at least qualify a second time and not get bottom 2. So anyway, just kind of throwing that out there. There's there will be more data that kind of gets filled in over time, I think. But it's a lot, right? You got to remember every region has all these lower teams that we've never heard of. So I feel bad for the poor folks at Liquipedia that are trying to parse all of this data. It's definitely a little bit overwhelming. So anyway, Hokori, they were a direct invite to the closed qualifiers. Their squad is Lumir, Nier, Vitali, El Misho, and Gardic, a 5 Peruvian squad. What did you know about these guys coming into the qualifier? Were they on your radar at all?
Yeah, so Vitali was definitely on my radar, and I did hear of Lumir and Gardic in a couple of matches that I watched, but overall they were away from the like tier 1 circuit of Peruvian players. They had like decent results, but I wouldn't say they were like super known or anything. They're overall, if you look at their ages, they're super new. You have Lumiere was born in 2000, like Gardic, Vitali, and Nier, they're from 97, 98, 99. So they're all like very they're fresh blood for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how old El Micho is. He hit me with the birth date, but not the year.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
very mysterious, this El Micho. Um, yeah, they where did they place in the qualifiers here? Maybe that's a good starting point. I think Hokori, they were
Um,
oh yeah, so they were bottom two. It was Hokori and
yes.
crewmates that went straight to the lowers from the group stage. So we did not get to see them in the playoffs for those additional series. And Hokori, they went 2-5. So the only teams that they beat were crewmates, who were also in the bottom two, and they beat Infinity Esports, who placed fourth.
Mhm.
And remember, those were best of ones. So, only
Yeah,
so much
kind of.
weight you really want to throw in there.
Hmm.
Um, did anything stand out about their play style? I'm trying to remember some of the Hokori games we watched. And um, was there anything
Well,
specific about how they played?
one thing that I remember is like I really felt like El Misho was their like standout player.
Mm.
He like in terms of like actual MMR, he's their only 9K player, and I definitely felt like he was carrying a lot of weight in the matches that I watched.
Yeah. And he plays the
Uh,
4, right?
yes, he plays the 4,
Yeah.
and overall, I felt like their the way that they were playing, like they didn't feel like a team that was structured and that had like a lot of time to play together. Maybe they are playing together for a while, but I don't think that really showed during the qualifiers. But I mean, they are really good. They could have qualified for the uppers if they got a lot of better results. It's tough, right? BO1s and all that. It definitely makes the seeding not great.
Yeah. Um,
They are actually higher MMR. Like their average MMR is much higher than Latin defenders, for instance. They have a 128 average rank in comparison to Latin 170. So
It does make you wonder a little bit if they were just a little unprepared for the best of one Dota. Because I am going back and looking at some of their matches right now, and they were like their opening match against Incubus. I think we might have watched this one, and I kind of remember yelling at some point in this game, "Why didn't you just ban Lycan?" Like that is the blunder
oh
of
yeah.
blunders in Best of One Dota. And I'm looking at this match. They played against Incubus, who picked Omni Knight, Nature's Prophet, Earth Spirit, Lesh, and Lycan. The Lesh went 14-3. So they picked a perfect Best of One Dota lineup. We're gonna run at
Mhm.
you, and we're gonna heal the backline with our Omni Knight. Hokori picked Bane, Void Spirit, Dark Seer, Spirit Breaker, and Morphling. And the
I
Spirit
remember that
Breaker
game.
went
I remember
one
that
and
game.
11 that game.
Yeah.
Absolutely, like they just got run down. So
Mhm.
I, we didn't really get to see Hokori in their full form. It's a little bit of a shame we didn't get to see them play a single best of 3. So this could
Yeah.
be a team that surprises a little bit. I don't know if like 7th out of 8th in the closed qualifiers, based on the best of ones in the group stage, is a fair representation of what they're going to be able to do in this longer league format.
Mhm. I definitely agree. I also feel like the league format is gonna allow for much better preparation, right? Because you have such a there's a pretty good distance between games, so you can research your team, you can like prepare. So I think we're gonna see like the matches are gonna be really good just
Mm-hmm.
because you have so much time to practice and all that.
I sure hope
Uh,
so. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no language barrier on this team. This is the squad. They have some roots in an old team called Sandblood. I think El Micho and Vitali both played together, and that was like their first kind of competitive team. And Gardic also has been playing with these guys for a while. I think Vitali cited Gardic as one of the players that got him into playing competitive full time. So
Oh.
these guys have a pretty tight history. There's some friendship bonds there, beyond just, hey, you play pubs, you want to try to qualify. These guys have been playing together for a long time. At least Vitali, Elmisho, Gardic.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's dope.
So that is, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Like when it's like, I mean, we were talking about the stats. 78% of all of the players in the SA League are from Peru. So it
Hmm.
definitely goes to show how, like, when you look at the Brazilian players, you don't see many new players playing at a high level, but with Peru, you definitely see that. So it's great to see. I mean, they're carrying South America right now.
Yeah, it's
It's great to see.
it's kind of like, I've heard people say that Counter Strike is so popular in Denmark that they actually have like regional, almost like in the UK, they have those regional football leagues. It's kind of like that with Counter Strike because they have all these youth, like high school and collegiate leagues where you
Oh,
can play. It's almost like, club soccer. You just show up and you're just playing in this local little traveling circuit. It seems like Peru is kind of like that as well. Like there are so many young players that I mean, I wish
yeah.
I could. I want when COVID's safe, man. I really do want to go visit, and I feel like we could make a dope documentary about the LAN cafe culture in
Yeah,
Peru. I mean, and
I
Brazil as well.
definitely
But
think so.
I mean, that could be some
Yeah.
bitching content. I'm also a bit optimistic on Hokori because I noticed a couple of their players mentioned that they like playing poker in their free time outside of Dota 2. And I'm definitely biased for those skilled poker players, man. If you can bluff in poker, you can bluff in Dota. It's a valuable
True.
skill. It's dude, we see it all the time in South America. How often do we see those like, all right, we lost a team fight. Well, let's just fucking smoke at them. They'll never see it coming. I mean, that's like a poker level. That's like a bluff. That's a psychological mind game of like they're never going to see this coming. Let's be unpredictable. I think you
That
see
is true.
South American teams very clearly executing strategies that are based around unpredictability more so than other regions on like a regular basis, where you see that shit in games
Yeah.
of why are they doing this right now? And the only reason you can think of is because it doesn't make sense by conventional logic, hence the other team won't see it coming. It's sort of like when you smoke into a team that's just gotten an Aegis. It's like, yeah, they just got Aegis, so they're going to spread out and all farm really greedily because they feel like they own the map right now. That can
Hmm.
sometimes be a window to smoke and go get a 5v2 at the side of the map while the Spectres at half HP farm an Ancients or something. It's like
Yeah.
those kind of psychological gameplays are part of what I like about this SA Dota we've been watching, man. Fucking
I
hell.
definitely agree. Like when I look at NA players and EU players, definitely you see a lot of min maxing, a lot of just like use your advantage when you have the best leverage possible. I mean, there's obviously South American teams that play by those rules, but there's also a lot of, I guess, different ways to play the game. And some South America, I mean, a lot of people see that type of play as like unprepared or just like wild, but there's definitely some strength to that as well. I
Hmm.
feel like if these South American teams actually start getting a lot of international exposure, it would be fun to see like someone beating Liquid by going for like weird smokes that no one would ever expect just
Yeah.
because like they feel like it.
Right. Like it's one thing to do unpredictable plays online, but it's something else to see that on like
Yes.
on LAN, And after the match you can,
Mm-hmm.
look the enemy or the enemies, the competition in the eye and feel like, yeah, you got bluffed, bitch. Yeah, you got caught. And also,
Yeah.
we're going to move into power rankings momentarily, but one of the other just interesting data points from Hokori, 4 of their 5 players said their favorite food is ceviche. And
Oh.
the one that didn't was Near, and he said that his favorite food is anything homemade because it's delicious. So sounds like their team house is just a fridge full of ceviche, and that's how they fuel. So um, I don't know. As a ceviche fan myself, I can empathize, but it just kind of cracked me up. Like, yeah, we all agree that's our favorite. We agreed as a team. Our team has a favorite food. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I should
dude,
have asked
Peruvian food is so good.
what Hokori means as well. I wonder if there's does that translate to something, or if there's any history behind the team name. I have absolutely
That
no idea.
kind of
I think it's a
that kind of feels like a
Japanese
weeb.
word.
Yeah, like that
Yeah.
feels like some weeb reference, but
It says in Japanese, Hokori stands for dust. The exact same word is also used for pride. It encapsulates the process of making surfboards. What? Oh, there's
yeah,
also a Magic
it's
the Gathering card called Hokori Dust Drinker. So it could be a Magic reference.
interesting. All right.
Unknown. So
Anime
that's
reference.
yeah. Apparently, it translates to dirt or dust in Japanese. Something tells me that might not be it, but Okay, anime reference. All right, so maybe that is it. Well, if we get to do an interview, we'll ask him for sure. But anything else about Hokori before power rankings there, bud?
I think that's it.
Okay. All right. So I guess we probably should have prepared this ahead of time, but maybe we can kind of talk it out and go reasonably quickly and just do our 1 through 8 power rankings of where we think when this league is done, the teams will stand.
Right.
So maybe if we want to start with uppers here, do you have a list already? Do you have an idea, or how do you want to do this? You want to go first? You want to go at the same time?
I guess I can go first.
Okay.
All right. So top 2. I guess I'm gonna go top 2, then middle of the pack, and then bottom 2.
Okay. Let's do that. That's fair.
I mean, Beast Coast has to be top 2. And I am sorry. I really want SG Esports to be top 2, but I kind of feel like Infamous is just too good. I'm sorry, Thunder Predator. So I think I'm gonna go with Thunder Predator and Beast Coast as top 2. Then I'm gonna go with SG, Unknown, Omega. Yes, it's 2 plus 4 plus 2, right? Yeah. So SG, Omega, Unknown, and Infamous. And I gotta say that Eagle Boys and Latam are probably gonna be my bottom 2.
Okay. So mine are relatively comparable. I had a little switcheroo. Agree wholeheartedly about Beast Coast. I think you're kind of crazy to not put them in the top 2. I think this power ranking is a little hard because we haven't seen uniquely to South America. We've been seeing a lot of this SA versus NA and those tournaments just being bundled together. We haven't seen this interregional SA nearly as much as we have over the past 5 years, where it's felt like almost a detriment, where it's only SA versus SA, and you guys are like stuck in this little bubble. So, really hard to call that like 2, 3, 4. That could so easily be any mixture of Thunder Predator, SG, and Infamous. I'm maybe a little biased towards Beast Coast. I think they're the South American team I've cast the most. So I feel like I just have the most handle on their play style. I remember casting them in 2019 at that Dota Pit Minor where they placed, was it like 3rd or 4th? I think they were still on Forgesa back then.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool event to see them play like on the international stage. So throwing all that out there as a disclaimer that I'm just a little biased in terms of Beast Coast. But I could definitely see them placing 3rd, for example, once we get into this regional stuff. I had Beast Coast and SG originally in my top 2. Maybe I'm pandering to my co-host here, having the Brazilian squad in the top 2. They are the only full Brazilian squad in the uppers for this first season of DPC for SA. So we'll see how that looks. I had Infamous 3rd. I had Unknown 4th. Omega 5th. I wrote Omega twice on my notes, so who am I missing there? I missed Thunder Predator. I'm sorry. So I have Infamous 3rd, Thunder Predator 4th, Unknown 5th, Omega 6th, Ego Boys 7th, and Latam Defenders 8th. Now, I want to put a little asterisk next to Latam Defenders. I would label them as my dark horse. I think they looked very good at the end of the qualifiers. We mentioned a couple times their carry Cuckahook. This guy looked very good and consistent against the lower division teams. How is this guy going to fare against these like tier 1 South American teams? That's going to be the ultimate challenge. So like Latam Defenders are either a diamond in the rough and they are going to look surprisingly good against these tier 1 teams and place like maybe 4th or something. Or they're going to look like a lower division team that made it to uppers that will place bottom 2 and then just kind of get knocked back down. I don't know which one's going to happen. And I think Latam Defenders is the team I'm most excited to watch because of that. So
I feel like my dark horse is probably Unknown. They feel kind of unknown because they were invited to the closed qualifiers. But when you look at those guys' history, I feel like they have everything to actually get maybe top 2. I think these guys are really, really good. It's gonna depend a lot on patch and how much they prepare. But I feel like they have the potential for top 2. I mean, you were talking. We were talking about bias in general. Beast Coast, they were definitely the best SA team for a while, but they also didn't play for a decent amount of time.
Hmm.
We also talked about the fact that the teams that got invited without having to play anything, they have probably less grasp about the patch,
Mm.
about like they just played less officials in general. So I wouldn't really I wouldn't really put some of these teams that qualified through games, like even though I have Latin defenders and Ego Boys as my bottom, I think those guys could definitely surprise us as well, just
Yeah.
because they're warmed up.
Yeah, I guess we shouldn't forget that Omega was undefeated in the group stage
Oh,
in best of
yeah, yeah.
ones, and they went straight to uppers. So another one where they looked so good, we almost didn't get to see them tested.
Yeah.
And Omega could very easily be a top 4 team, potentially a top 2 team in uppers if they continue to show up like they did in the qualifiers. We were super praisey of Dark Magoo. He had a couple really standout games.
Man.
That triple rapier tiny game. Mingate
That
played
guy.
really well. Honestly, all 5 of their players looked crisp. Mingate, Dark Magoo, Oscar, Matthew, and Panda. I guess Panda is the one I remember the least flashy plays from, but sometimes that's just the position 5 life, not to take anything away from him. But, I remember a few key moments where we were like, holy shit, Matthew, this guy's playing out of his mind. I remember a couple big Oscar moments,
Yeah, yeah.
So a very flashy team, and I would be excited to see Omega do well also. Dark Mago. I know. It's Dark Mago. We like to call him Dark Magoo. It's a little bit of a meme. I know it's not really Magoo, but there's something there's something that just cracks you up about this guy named Dark Magoo just coming in and like dumpstering people with Tiny, being like, God, fucking Magoo again. It's Magoo in the back line. Like there's just a funny irony there that cracks me up.
Yeah, I definitely get it.
All right, cool. So let's jump over to the lowers here, and I guess we can take a moment to collect ourselves because I didn't write mine down. But we'll do the same thing. We'll go top 2 and then kind of 3 through 6, and then we can do our 7th and 8th. And I think most people know by now. But top 2 from the lowers, they go up to the uppers. Bottom 2 from uppers, they go down to the lowers after season 1. So we have that 4-team switcheroo, and then the bottom 2 teams from the lowers are relegated out and 2 new teams come in. I guess I don't know if it's open qualifiers or invite qualifiers, but some sort of qualifier happens, I guess, in between.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're starting from the bottom here, I think it's really hard to not place Blood for Blood as the least favorite team. They did get that super easy bracket. In terms of average MMR, they are a rank 600 team. And when you see the other teams, the lowest MMR in comparison to them is 240. So they're definitely, in terms of like raw pub skill, they're definitely behind everyone. Crewmates is the second lowest MMR. It's with a heavy. I don't really want to place them in the bottom, and I do feel like they have the potential to surprise me a lot. But from what we saw, I do feel like Blood for Blood and Crewmates might be the bottom right now. But I do feel like they have, I mean, everyone here actually has a lot of potential to grow. It's really going to be about dedication. You have a long time to prepare, a long time to play. So the stats that we have right now could look very different, I don't know, a month from now.
Yeah.
But with the information we have right now, I think that's my bottom. Then we have, I guess, as top 2, I would say Gorilla Pride and probably Infinity. I really feel like Infinity played really well.
You think Gorilla's
Yes.
Pride is that good? I mean, again, they were open qualifiers, so we didn't get to see them tested at all.
Yeah, I think they're pretty good. Their carry is by far the best carry in the lower division, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I think they have experienced players in general, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Gorillas and Infinity in the top 2. And then the middle of the pack would probably be, I guess, Incubus with 0900. I think 0900 is my dark horse.
Okay.
And then like Hokori and Inverse all around that same bundle of
All right.
players.
All right. Well, this is where it gets interesting, buddy, because my lowers are a bit different than yours. All right. And
Oh,
you
okay.
might know better than I do. And this is based mostly on what I saw in qualifiers. But my list, top
All
two,
right.
I've got Incubus and 0900. So I agree that
Mhm.
0900 will be the dark horse, but I'm so confident that I've got them up in the top.
All right. All
So
right.
my 3, 4, 5, 6 in order. Number 3 will be Infinity. So I agree there that they're top, but maybe won't be
Mhm.
top 2. Gorilla's Pride, number 4. I had them a little lower, but based on what you just said, I realized we didn't watch this team at all. I know absolutely nothing about them, so I
Mhm.
did raise them a little bit just based on what you've told me. I've got Hokori number 5. I've got Crewmates number 6. And then my bottom two are Inverse and Mad Kings. Mad Kings is Blood for Blood.
Yeah.
What do we know about Inverse? I got one response. I think Slaw sent me the questionnaire. This was another open qualifier team. They were in the bottom half of the bracket, not really tested. I think they had a pretty comparable, quote unquote, easy run relative to the Mad Kings. Are you optimistic that they won't be bottom two?
I mean, it's just like when I look, it's rough because I'm going over just like raw talent. So just like if we look at ranks, they are very high up in ranks here. If we look at
Okay.
all of the MMR in the lower division, they are third in
Oh,
MMR.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
So we
something.
have the highest team is Infinity. Then we have Hokori. Oh, I'm sorry, actually fourth. Then we have Gorilla's Pride
Okay.
and Inverse as top 4.
So,
Uh,
man, 0900 isn't as high on MMR as I thought, huh?
yes, I'm gonna be kind of controversial now, but
Uh-oh.
I know that the bracket situation was a problem and Tavo's Tech got eliminated. But most of their players, they were not playing for a decent amount of time. So I think they started to like get together and practice. I want
I
to
see.
say a month and a half before the qualifiers.
So they weren't like peak MMR going into it, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
peak
Like,
performance in general.
yeah, okay.
And that's when they started playing pubs. I'm not even sure how much time they practiced before the actual qualifiers.
Mhm.
So I
Okay.
mean, yes, 0900 felt like that amazing team that eliminated them, but we might have just been overestimating their performance a little bit based on like we definitely see HFN and Tavo as these like
I
gods, and they are
yeah.
really good, but
I think what clouded it for me was knowing that final series was a pretty swift 2-0. It was a pretty stern win. It wasn't like a close series where, okay, 0900, it was really blow for blow. Like, they made the Tavo squad look like a
yeah,
pretty easy opponent. So I might be weighting that a little bit too heavily because that's the last series I saw from 0900. But that
hmm
made me feel like, okay, these guys are like not really an open qualifier team. They're like a team that's just getting their footing here. Maybe it's honeymoon moon phase as well. It's always
yeah.
possible. It's just one series. That's one series.
Yeah, like when I remember that those two series, I feel like in both games they had a really good start on the side of 1 million,
Mm-hmm.
which was the Tavo HFN stack. But then they just took really weird fights. So that kind of leads me to believe they didn't practice as a team that much. I remember like they were 6,000 gold ahead. They get Aegis, then like HFN dies with Aegis, dies, buys back, dies again, and the game is over. Like it was really
Yeah.
weird how the mid game and late game kind of played out. So I mean, definitely great players, but on 0900. But we'll see. I might be wrong.
It'll be interesting. I mean, the lower division is harder to call in general. There's just a lot of uncertainty, not a lot of data points. So
True.
who knows? I mean, both of our predictions could be horribly wrong, and we might see the Mad Kings make a wild run to a top 4. I think that's not completely out of the question because there's just so much unknown here in this
Yeah.
this lower division. But I'm super stoked, dude. I think this is shaping up to be a really exciting first season. I haven't really been paying attention to the other regions. I have been tunnel visioned on South America, and I've been loving every minute of it, buddy.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this thing up. One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, especially relevant because there are so few Brazilian teams here in general. We've got 1 in upper and 2 in lowers. Crewmates and then Incubus are 4 out of 5 Brazilian. Why are we playing every game on the Brazilian server? If you've got 7
Oh man.
Peruvian teams, 1 Brazilian team, why is it confirmed that every match is still going to be on the Brazilian servers, even for the league
As
matches?
as far as I've heard, that is true, and
Why?
yeah, that is bonkers.
I mean,
I
if it were
I think that for a
50-50
while,
and you had to pick one, I could see, but it's 7 Peruvian teams, man.
yes, I feel for a while the biggest teams in South America were Brazilian, so like it felt natural that you would play in their server. But even though like for like maybe a year and a half, Peru has been carrying South America. As we said, Beast Coast was the best South American team by a long shot. But people, I guess the rules just stayed the same, even though the play field changed. So yeah, I agree with you. I think at least they should give Peruvian servers when 2 Peruvian teams are playing each other. Like it makes no sense that they have to play with bad ping in Brazil, right?
Yeah. So PDS
Uh,
says that servers will change. Third game is coin toss depending on the teams playing. That's fine if it's Brazil versus Peru teams. I think
yes.
we all agree that alternating if you're back and forth is a pretty fair solution. I'm more talking about if it's 2 Peruvian teams, can they opt when the match is in the lobby to say,
Yeah.
"Hey admin, we really want to play on Peru." All 10 players agree that we get lower ping to Peru servers than Brazil servers. Will they be forced to play on Brazil servers when it's Peru versus Peru? Because that's how it was for the qualifiers. That was the official rule statement for the qualifiers. And I guess I don't know if that is going to carry on to the DPC. I don't know if that's been figured out.
Oh,
They
dope.
can opt for Peru servers. Okay, awesome. That's PDS. Thank you so much for confirming that. That makes me very happy because that was one of the dramas with the qualifiers, that this is just like unnecessarily unfair to Peruvian players, like not even disproportionate to Brazil. Just like, why do we all have to play on ping? What did we do to deserve this? There's a solution for this. We've got a server. Let's use it.
We can talk and change the server.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess
All right.
also worth mentioning, No Ping Esports. That is Omega. We said Omega a number of times.
Oh yeah, the same thing with Blood for Blood, right? They changed.
Yes,
They got an org.
So we've got an org update already, and I think that's like super new, right? I think that updated like since I opened Liquipedia last. So Mingate, Dark Mago, Oscar, Matthew Panda, now officially known as No Ping Esports.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because the old no ping roster was a full Brazilian stack, so I felt like the no ping org was Brazilian, but apparently they're a Latam org. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. So, nice to see just some activity in the region, more orgs coming back into Dota, seeing a little bit of lifeblood beyond just more players. Now we're seeing that next layer of the stack, more consistent games, which means orgs can start making some investments, saying, oh, wow, look, we've got 3 seasons. Look at all this guaranteed Dota. Look at these guaranteed eyeballs, exclusivity. Maybe we can sell this. And once they start selling stuff, players get paid more money, and this whole fucking cycle continues, and hopefully there's a little bit of growth in between cycles. This is very promising stuff, Bowie. Very promising
man.
to start this
So
league.
hyped.
Yeah. So, folks, the league starts in about 24 hours. It'll be over on the OGA Dota Pit channel for the first season of South America. We hope that you'll join us there. This podcast, it'll be on youtube.com/ZyoriTV. We're going to be starting up a podcast RSS separate from the existing Trent and Zyori podcast one. It's still going to live on the Zyori website, but you'll be able to subscribe to it on iTunes and all that stuff as a standalone feed. Keep an eye out for SADPP because we're going to be coming every week. I think on Saturdays, we've got a gap in between series. We've got like an upper match, a gap, and then a lower match. And I think we're going to do the podcast to fill that gap in between. So keep an eye out. We'll be back every week. And Viva Peru, Vamos Brazil, whatever else I missed. I'm working on it, folks. Espanol, Poquito, tiny. Bowie, make sure you find this guy. He's D2 Bowie everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. And you know where to find me as well. Bowie, it's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to paneling with you tomorrow, bud.
Man. Oh, yeah. 12 a.m. if you live in Brazil. Probably around that same time if you live anywhere around Brazil. Proven in Brazilian word. Ga. I mean, Ga is not really a Brazilian word, but it is definitely It's
Ga?
already a consolidated meme. Yeah, it's pretty similar to Vamos.
I see.
Like maybe Davai. Maybe it's pretty close to
Davai.
Davai actually.
Ga!
Yeah.
It sounds like some
Yeah.
Klingon shit. Just ga, ga, ga. Is that how you're supposed to do it when they're going? Am I
Yeah.
getting it? Okay, I see. All right. Well, adios. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.